Welcome to How to Run for Office and Get Away with It, the show that teaches you how to run smart, run ethical, and maybe even enjoy the chaos. Today, we're talking about the real secret weapon of any campaign, knowing your district. Not just the map, the people, the stories, the vibes. If you want voters to trust you, you've got to understand the world they live in. So let's break down how to connect, listen, and get truly local. Let's jump in. Welcome to How to Run for Office and Get Away with It. I'm Scott.
I'm B.
And we are your host for this podcast about running for office and all the backstage and tips and tricks and secrets.
All the things you didn't know were involved with the campaign, never thought of.
If you are considering running for office, this is a great place to start. We have all the information that you're going to need.
Well, I hope some of the information.
At least some of the information.
You're never going to get all the information. Some of it you just have to experience for yourself.
And what are we talking about today?
I think today we're talking about one of our favorite little inside jokes. Know your zones.
That's right. If you grew up in an area that has any type of emergency warning system, a lot of times they have evacuation zones spread out throughout your community, throughout your city, and they encourage you to know your zone.
Now, in our particular community, we happen to have a military base, and it has been housing World War I mustard gas and neurotoxins since, I guess when the League of Nations said that it was illegal. So we've been in violation of international law here. That was why we were destroying it. They finally destroyed all of it. It was a several-year project to ensure that they weren't impacting the environment. They did a very good job keeping the public informed, but while there was mustard gas and neurotoxins there for the past 95 years, something like that, they did a very good job at telling the public to know your zone.
And what zone are we in?
I have no idea. Okay. But it's always been fun to have like the nuclear age warnings with like the duck and cover. It always reminds me of that. Like knowing my zone is probably not going to save me from a neurotoxin that has escaped its facility. Yeah.
And not one incident in the 95 years.
There wasn't. They did a very good job at destroying it. And they regularly met with the public and talked to the public about what they were doing and how they were.
Yes, they did. Now, why are we calling this episode Know Your Zone?
Oh, yeah. We're doing an episode about running for office, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
We call this Knowing Your Zone because you need to get to know all of the boundaries of your district.
Know all of the zones.
You need to know the cultural boundaries, the unofficial boundaries. You need to get to know the people that live in your district. So we're going to talk a little about that. But first, we're going to hear a little word from our sponsor.
Our sponsor today and every day is Be Political. You know, running for office can be overwhelming, especially when you don't know where to begin. Be Political helps people just like you run for political office with the confidence of having a seasoned campaign manager. With Be Political, you'll find the professional advice you've been looking for, along with guidance and tools you can't find anywhere else. We'll help you stay organized and guide you in making important decisions about your campaign. From learning how to secure that big donor to choosing your campaign color scheme, Be Political is here for you. It's hard to know where to begin when you want to run. Start here. Be Political can show you the way. For all your campaigns, go to our website, bepolitical, B-E-E political, LLC.com. And now back to the show. All right. So you have, I've heard you before, liken campaigning to dating.
Oh, yes.
And what do you mean when you say that?
Well, a lot of people think that when they're campaigning, it's all about putting themselves out there and making sure that everyone knows all about you. You're the candidate, so you're talking to people, telling them all about you, your ideas, the things that you hope to do for the district. And you're looking for people to listen to those things and to get to know you.
Right.
But it's also about getting for you, the candidate, getting to know your district more intimately. It's having one perspective, your perspective of your home, the way that you viewed it and experienced it, and then going out and seeing the whole of your community from different angles, seeing it from different directions where other members of your community may see it from, and connecting in those ways and getting a deeper, richer knowledge of your district.
Just like you do when you're dating someone, getting to know them better, you're trying to introduce yourself to the community and get to know the community yourself.
Right.
And there's a lot of dinners involved.
There's a lot of bad chicken involved. I mean, the chicken itself is, I mean, not like bad, like it just
Bad chicken.
dry. It's always dry. And there's always going to be some mixed veggies.
I don't know that they know how to cook chicken in Maryland. We are in Kentucky. We know how to cook chicken.
Most political events, they're just, they're trying to maximize the donor amount. So, you're going for the least expensive meals.
Shout out to all our caterers out there.
Hey, listen, thank you.
They're doing a bang up job with the chicken.
Ends up getting dried out. Now we've been very fortunate.
So don't get into politics for the food.
It's not for the food. And, a lot of people think that they're going to end up gaining weight from campaigning, but you actually need to keep food with you. Every time you try to eat something while you're out campaigning, somebody starts to ask you a question. So you always get the food real close to your mouth. If I could count the number of times before even the age of 18 that I had a picture of me with my mouth half open, like they used to wait until I was mid-sentence or about to eat something for the local paper. They had a vendetta. I believe it. No, I'm just kidding. Cumberland Times, I love you. You're great. Shout out to the Cumberland Times.
A lot of shout outs.
You know what? I like it. We should. Who else can we shout out to? Let's shout out to Montana. Why? I don't know. It's gorgeous there. I want to go to Montana. It's beautiful there. I also like the other side of the Great Lakes in Canada. It's all flat. Freaks me out, but I think it's gorgeous. It does
freak you out because it's flat.
because it's so flat.
Ah,
I get nervous when there aren't mountains. I do. I need mountains or I need water nearby. Without those to hang on to, I don't know what to do.
all right. So we're talking about campaigning as dating,
A little bit,
and you
yeah.
can continue with that analogy.
Sure. So, you know, you've known your district, hopefully, like an old friend, right? Like you have your relationship with your district and you've gotten to know it enough that you want to take that, relationship a step further and start serving.
Take your level.
Take it to the next level. And so you want to actually serve your community. You want to be a leader in your community. Well, that means getting to know your community in a different way. Maybe they already see you as a leader, but it's not as a political leader yet. This is your first time running for office, very likely. So, you need to get them used to the idea that you are not just a leader in the areas that you have been before. Maybe it was in a political movement within the community, sure. Um, but maybe it was with a charity or with a fraternal organization in the area. Maybe it was several different things, but it's a different relationship than being an elected official. So getting the community to see you a different way outside of the regular relationship that you've had with it in the past. And then, you have to change your perspective too and how you relate to the community. If somebody just walked up to you at the supermarket and they're like, "Hey man, you're great, except you suck at this," right?
Right.
You'd probably be like, "Hey, well, screw you too, buddy. I'm trying to get groceries." Right? But you can't do that. You've got to get used to the idea that people are going to come up to you and it's going to at first feel a little bit like you're being verbally assaulted. For other people, though, they don't think of it that way. You start to become a public figure, they're coming up to someone they feel like they know, that they have access to. So you have to change the way that you're thinking and relating to your community,
Just like you do when you're dating.
just like you do when you're dating somebody that you've known a long time. You're getting to know different aspects of them that haven't really been accessible to you before. It's not just getting to know the community in a new way, but it's getting to know it better. It's understanding where the community is coming from. And the only way you can really do that is to understand what physically and culturally and historically makes up your community.
Right.
So the best place to start here is just sort of the surface stuff, right? You want to know where the physical boundaries of the district are. Sometimes it's not along a geographic line or a regular boundary like a county line or a city limit. A lot of times it's just
And how would one go about finding that out?
so it depends. It depends on where you are in the country, depends on who handles that in your state. But usually you can go to like a county clerk or your community's equivalent of a county clerk. You can go to the Secretary of State in most states, and they'll have that information, or they'll be able to send you uh, the right way.
So why is it important to know what the boundaries of your district are?
So, most importantly, there, I think, is that it makes you look like you're not connected with the community if you don't even know where the boundaries are of that district.
Right.
You're trying to represent them, and that's the most basic info. To be fair, it's very easy to cross over a district line without realizing it. Oftentimes, it's like one side of the street is in one district and the other side of the street is in a totally different district. You never know. And in certain parts of the country, well, in most parts of the country, those lines are drawn so crazy. You really need to look it up in advance and keep a map with you somewhere on your phone, on a piece of paper. When you're out knocking on doors, you wanna make sure you're going to the right doors, and and that you're not spending money on resources that are going to houses that you don't need them to go to, that you're not mailing reminders or information about your campaign to houses that don't even they can't even do anything about it. So it's important so you can save yourself the time, money, and effort, which are a premium when it comes to a camp. I mean, that is always limited. Time, money, resources, those are the 3 things that you're constantly trying to get. You don't wanna waste them by making a silly mistake by not taking the time to understand the boundaries of the district that you're in.
So you need the physical boundaries of the district so that you know where to campaign and know what area is contained so that you can address just specific issues or things going on. Um, what about the people who are in those different neighborhoods, those different areas of your district?
Right, so a lot of times you have your district, your community is split up into subcategories. So if you the larger the office that you're running for, the more that you have these sort of smaller and smaller breakdowns within the community that make up areas that you can use to identify the demographics that live there and who it is that you're contacting there. So you might have multiple counties, and within those counties, you have precincts. And within those precincts, you have neighborhoods, and then, you have your unofficial districts, which are your cultural districts, your business districts, things like that. So, the first thing you want to do is identify where your district is and what those boundaries are. The next thing you want to do is identify those smaller breakdowns and where those boundaries are, because hopefully as you're getting to know your community, and we'll probably talk about this in the next episode, you want to be able to have your messaging relate to the people in each of those communities. You're running to represent everyone, I would hope. And so you want to be able to have your message resonate with different members of the community, and different members of the community have different needs. They want to hear you talk about different things. If you're going into every part of your community and district and you're always saying the same thing, and you don't care what the audience
You need to be able to
front of you.
customize your message to that particular community,
Right.
that particular precinct or neighborhood.
There might be multiple reasons that you have a policy decision. One community may find that the reason that that policy works for them is because of one thing. A different community may find that that policy works for them because of something else. Why are you trying to tailor your message as one size fits all when it's not? You wanted to tell your message in a way that resonates with who you're talking to. You want to let them know how it benefits them specifically. Don't waste their time in how it benefits somebody else that's not within their community. Spend time talking to them and letting them know I've considered you when making this decision on this policy.
And the demographics of that particular area are important too, right?
Right. And that's where you want to get to know the people in each one of those after you've identified those physical boundaries. So it's not uncommon for districts to have different cultures within their community and that they unofficially have communities within the larger community. So, we see this in areas that have Chinatowns or Little Italies, or, in the town that I grew up in. I grew up in Western Maryland. And you know this, the community was split three ways. There was an Italian part of town, a German part of town, and an Irish part of town. And it really, has gone to the wayside now that, you know, those things sort of have after 250 years. But the remnants of that are still there. There's still families that still live in those parts of town because for 200-300 years, that's where they lived. And the Catholic churches, you have an Italian Catholic church, one Irish Catholic church, and one German Catholic church in town. So, that's not uncommon for areas, and that's historically accurate. That's just been the way that it is throughout American history. And it's important to go into those communities respecting the traditions and cultures that exist within those subgroups of your district. I think you asked me about demographics earlier, and I think I was
Yes.
just like coasted right past that, right?
It went flying by so fast it made our heads spin.
I'm so sorry. We get talking and then I get off the beaten path. It's so easy to do.
And I'm here to keep you on it.
Oh, thank you. I
That's what I do.
appreciate that. Is it breadcrumbs? Are you spreading breadcrumbs back?
No, I'm putting curbs on you.
Oh, like bumpers?
Yes. Yes,
That's
exactly.
nice of you. See that? Get yourself a good partner, a partner who knows how to put bumpers on you, but not keep your ball from sparkling as it goes down the lane. My little bowling ball shines as it bounces off your bumpers, keeping me from getting too far out the lane.
Yes.
Anyway, so demographics are really essential because, when you're breaking down the people who live in your community, you're also able to sort of identify on the grander scale predictively what their issues are going to be. So if you have a community that when you go in and look at the demographics of it that has a high rate of people 65 and older, well, this is an area that you probably want to be talking about retirement, so security, um, accessibility, and those sorts of things. So as you're developing your message, you're going around talking to people, you want to be able to uh, know what the mosaic of your community is.
Know your zone.
Know your zone.
It all comes back around.
So you want to know what that mosaic looks like. So that when you're stepping back from it and seeing the picture of your community, you walk a little closer and you're seeing what that makeup is. So, um, you want to look up things like age demographics, gender demographics, economic demographics, profession. There's all kinds of things.
So demographics are very important when you're doing your developing your messaging and giving speeches or talking to people in different areas, understanding what the scene is there.
Well, no two people are alike, obviously, but you can tell a lot about a person and the things that they deal with based on very specific things. You know, age, race, gender, all these things inform the experience that a person has happened. Now, does that mean two young people are having the same experience? No. Are they experiencing very similar cultures that's taking place around them and affecting them as young people in this in a very similar way? Absolutely. When you picture your community, when you picture this district that you're running in, it's really a mosaic, honestly. You're standing back and it makes one whole picture. And what you need to do as a political candidate planning for these things is to zoom in closer and see those individual pictures that are making up the whole. And one of the ways you do that is breaking out your population into the different demographics that make them up, whether it's by age, gender, race, marital status, whether it's how long they've lived in the community, like whether or not they're native or they're a transplant. Those things can all be found in different ways. There's software that's available out there that you can have it be part of your campaign that help. Vote Builder is the one that I use most often if you're running for an office as a Democrat, and that's probably who's going to be. Let's just get to it. You've been wondering for what, 3 episodes? This is the third episode. We've
Yeah.
not outright said we work for Democrats, and we hope that you are one too. If you are not, if you are independent or you are running unaffiliated, that's fine. We just hope that you are taking care of your community and that we're helping you to do that. But we work with Democrats. Um, but back to the demographics. Demographics are what party people are in your community and what those numbers look like. So, you want to be able to identify those different demographics, be able to break down the populations into different groups so that you know exactly who you're speaking to as a group, but also as individuals.
So how would people go about getting those demographics? You said there was software out there that
There's software.
stealing information from
Mhm.
Facebook and that
None of
other
it
stuff.
none of it is stolen information. It actually comes from the state. So if you have um
This is like census information.
it's census information, you can get into the advertising sort of stuff where you get demographic information that's coming from advertising. You can purchase all of that. They use that at the federal level and in the really big campaigns.
That's a
It's expensive. And not necessary on the local level, in my opinion. Sometimes you get and honestly, I'll tell you, as we're talking about, I take advice from everywhere that I can get it. Karl Rove, in discussing this very specific way of getting demographics, has said, like, this is sometimes there's too much information. Sometimes you just need.
you can definitely get bogged down with the details.
Right, and you're a statistics and
Right.
numbers guy. What happens when you get too much details?
You have to filter it out.
You gotta. It's nice to have the information, but you can get stuck in making all of your decisions run on numbers, and you are going to meet those people, and especially if you're running for a local district, something that's state rep or smaller, even state senate, depending on what state you're in, but anything that is no more than maybe a county or two. Um, you you want to run these numbers, but for the most part, uh, you should have a fairly good feel for what those numbers are. This just helps you identify, maybe again, as you're looking at your community from a different angle. It's making sure you really do, when you walk up close to that picture, you know, all of the different parts that make it up, because you might have missed a big chunks of your community as you've lived your life and you're part of it,
Right.
looking at it from just one side.
So we kind of touched on cultures, different cultural districts as well.
Which is one of the things you're looking at in those demographics,
Right.
right? Um, a lot of time, and we talked on how those cultural demographics can actually arrange themselves geographically, and I think that's the next step here. After you get those demographics, you're looking at the actual geographical boundaries of people throughout your district. So you're looking at people by county, and then after county, you want to reduce that some more.
Now, earlier we talked about cultural districts, or I think we mentioned different cultural districts within the precincts or within the neighborhoods, right?
Yeah, so when you brought up demographics, I sort of skipped ahead a little bit and started talking about the cultural districts, because I get excited about that. I get excited about the opportunity to meet different people in your community, especially when you've lived there for so long. So I know I jumped the gun. But once you get those demographics that we were just describing, you then want to look at the geography of those demographics. And the best way to do that is to start with the biggest pieces of geography and then how that narrows down.
As I would start with a county.
Right. And that's what I was saying earlier, right? So you start with your county, and you may have multiple counties within your district, but you identify first the counties of that district. Uh, if there's only one, then great. You don't have a lot more work to do. Then there's one county. Within that, then broken up smaller, is what's called precincts. Now, your precincts may not make a lot of sense to,
What is who sets up the precincts in the county? What's the purpose of them?
so precincts are the they are voting districts that often determine where the physical location of a person, of a registered voter, where they go to vote. It is the different districts that are set up within your state or commonwealth that they're able to, at a county clerk or your secretary of state, bundle together votes. It's how they track things.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's how they're reported within the
And
county.
how they're reported within the county, within the district, and a precinct may be split in how it votes. You may have a precinct that is, part of it is votes within a city limit and part of it doesn't. Like I said, it doesn't always make sense. The important part to know, though, is where those precincts are. Because, and I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but birds of a feather.
Right.
That's a very real thing. It's not just a Billie Eilish song. That's a good Billie Eilish song. I love that song. You can just sort of listen to it, sort of float away with Billie. Anyway, um, people tend to group together. People who vote a similar way tend to live in similar neighborhoods. They tend to gravitate towards one another without even realizing it. So you're going into areas, precincts,
Right.
and you can look at that precinct and say, this is a predominantly Democratic area, or this is a predominantly Republican area, or this is a prominently rural area. And you know who you're talking to before you're ever going in there. It also helps you tailor your message,
Again, it's about customizing your message to the people
not
that you are addressing.
not changing it, not saying one thing to one group and a different thing to another, right?
Just choosing what to focus on.
I mean,
That's what it's all about, and all of this is strategy.
right. You know, the a perfect example. So say you have the national wildlife, whatever, or state park or national parks. That's what I'm trying to get to. So you have national parks,
Right.
and they might have a PSA for who we want to do a shout out to that lives in an ocean state, right? Delaware.
Delaware.
Have we done
I
Delaware?
don't think so. Shout out to Delaware.
Shout out to Delaware. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have my first name. All right, Delaware. I was named after a city in Delaware. So, in Delaware and in Maryland, there are PSAs about don't play with the dolphins,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So you need those PSAs, and that's important. People need to know that is a wild animal that
Right.
do not want. They're not cuddly mythical creatures that people, for some reason, seem to think that they are when they encounter them. They will bite you, they will injure you, they will try to play with you. I mean, they're a social animal. That doesn't mean that they're gentle with humans, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, now, do we need to hear the dolphin PSA when we're in, say, shout out to Minnesota, right? Minnesota, right. Um, we don't need a dolphin PSA
Right.
from
So obviously national parks changes its messaging depending on where their audience
there's gonna hear maybe don't
don't feed the bears.
don't feed the bears, which, I mean, that even works just where I'm from. I didn't need an Ocean City, uh, PSA about dolphins. I needed people to not keep they and you've heard me talk about this. The number of people who think that they can pet a bear is upsetting. So, and
Do not
they from
pet
Appalachia don't we'll talk about you'll hear me go on about bears more about don't even don't go near the bears. But anyway, like still in the forest, I'm choosing the bear. Don't get me wrong. I'm still choosing the bear. And I'm telling you, you just stay away from the bears anyway. You're looking at me.
Well, I don't what do you mean you're choosing the bear?
Do you not know? Do you not keep with this is old Zeitgeist. So you've not heard if you ask a woman, would she rather be alone in the woods with a man or a bear? That more often than not, she'll choose the bear.
I had not heard that, no.
Yes.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah, your half of the species is gonna need to get it together.
They are terrible.
Yeah. So, right. You need different messaging depending on where you are is the point. And also don't pet dolphins or bears. But you got to know your demographics, right? You got to know how many dolphins are in that community.
Well, it's not the dolphins you're trying to warn.
How many bears do you have? You might have bear in Delaware.
Well, what if the bears start attacking the dolphins to play with them?
Now we've gotten off the beaten path that you're always trying to breadcrumb me
Now
back from.
now the PSA has to be
Bears and
bears don't play with the dolphins.
but you don't know that until you know demographics. You and you can't adjust your messaging. Do you need dolphin?
You are hitting the bumper hard.
You're right, but I think people are with me. I know you're out there with me. Do you have messaging for dolphins in this area? Do you have messaging about bear in this area? Or do you have messaging about bear and dolphin? Because there's rural areas of Delaware for like a
You
minute.
finally back.
I did.
Good job.
I always make it back. I do. Even I am Little Red Riding Hood. Even if you, the hunter, has to come in and get me, I'm a survivor, baby. I'm gonna make it back to the end of that story.
It came around a long way.
It took the long way. It did. You know what though? I think people appreciate it. Now they understand why it's important to know where your counties are, where your precincts are, and who's living in them. And you know, and then inside the precincts, you have neighborhoods. And then, like we were discussing earlier, inside those neighborhoods, or those neighborhoods may make up, or whatever, there's also cultural zones. There's also areas where people have either families have come together 200 years ago and that's just sort of where they settled because they came over together, or because that's where people felt comfortable because birds of a feather, or I mean, that's just how it sort of worked out. But those cultural zones matter too.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's important to know what it is that they need to hear from you. And the best way to do that is by knowing your demographics and knowing your physical boundaries.
That sounds perfect.
Have we talked about personal districts?
We have not talked about personal districts.
So, what do you want to know about personal districts?
What are personal districts?
So, I think that goes back to that the cultural districts. But when I'm saying personal districts, I'm saying as you're looking at these counties, precincts, neighborhoods, and then cultural areas, you need to start asking yourself, okay, as I'm walking into this space, am I currently at this moment the right person to represent this area?
From a Can I get enough votes in this area?
No,
Or
from an appropriate standpoint. Do I know enough about
am I the proper representative for this area?
Brett? And
Maybe it's not my culture.
maybe it's not your culture. Maybe it's not anywhere that you've ever been before. Maybe you've lived in one part of this district that you're running in, and you've never even been to this particular area in it because you had no reason to be there, no one that you knew. So as you're walking into it, are you the right person currently to be representing it?
This sounds like a serious conversation to have with yourself, as we talked about in the previous episode,
Exactly.
about am I the right person to run for this office?
And when once you've determined or you've decided for yourself, yes, I am. I am the right person to run for this office.
And here's why.
Here's why. You want to be also, as you're going into these areas, taking personal inventory, going back to those conversations that you had. And the best way that you can say yes at the end of that question, am I the right person to be representing this area, this district, this section of it, is to get to know it before you walk into it, is to look look at what that section of your constituency, who's there, all of the demographics, what has historically happened in that area, what has most recently been happening in that area, and what issues those folks have before you walk into it. And if you can say you've gotten to know those things and now you're open to hearing what the people in it have, what their input is. You did your homework and now it's time to have the conversation. How can I best serve you? Because I have gotten to know, at least on paper, this community, and I would like to spend more time in your community and be a part of it so that I can represent it with the rest of this district. But I need your B feedback. I need to hear from you what it is that you need. So, um, the only way to really get to yes on that is to do this other homework, is to look up who's there and what this area looks like at all angles.
Yes.
What you what you're looking at in that, once you've looked at, some of the stuff on paper, is what are the cultural norms for this particular area? And you're probably thinking to yourself, you know, is there really cultural norms that are different for one part of your district than there is for another? Uh, yeah, there really can be.
Sure.
Even in a city, even
Well, especially in a city.
right, you break up a city by neighborhood, And something that's acceptable in one part of a neighborhood, one part of the city in a neighborhood may not be acceptable in a different neighborhood.
Right.
um, w- uh, you find that in a geographically diverse area like we live in. We live in an area that has rural, suburban, and urban all in one very tight area.
Yes.
And the cultural differences between, now I'm going to give a real special shout out. The cultural differences that you may see in Poozy, out in Poozy, shout out to Poozy, all 12 of you. Now I'm just joking. So, but the cultural differences you have out there are different than they are in the college town that is 10 minutes away than it is in the urban area of Lexington that is 25 minutes away. So 35 for Poozy, right? So cuz they have they don't have a drift, they got to come through. So, but they're all in one congressional district.
Sure.
And understanding before you're walking into that what those differences are. And it may come down to neighborhood.
And don't conflate multiple cultural districts. Don't assume that one is like another.
Yeah, don't think just because one is rural, they have the same, like they're coming from the same place as the other rural. That is,
Rural.
one community that lives in the country may not have the same cultural norms or needs that exist in another area of your district that has, you know, out in the country need.
All right.
And part of that is just because, like, well, like, especially if you get into areas like West Virginia, if you're working with Appalachia, if that's where you're running for office, I mean, there's cultural differences between haulers, and that's because there's family differences and everything else. So you've got to pay attention to those things.
Pay attention to everybody
Pay-
and learn about different areas before you try to interact um, as a politician, because it will be seen as false.
And then, you know, part of understanding all that is getting to know what's motivating that district. And we were talking about this, like, are they in the county? Are they in a college town?
Right.
Eh,
What are the issues going on, and what are people getting up in arms about?
What, or just what's motivating them in general? Like, are they getting up every day because they work at a university? Are they getting up every day to go work on a dairy farm? Or are they getting up to go work on a soybean or tobacco farm? At two very different needs in farming, by the way. Some crossover.
Shout out to all the farmers out there.
That's right. You know what? Double shout out to our farmers. You guys keep us fed, and we're very grateful. And they don't get the shout out that they deserve, especially our family farmers. But the those needs have there's some cross motivation there for them, but they're not the same. And sometimes you actually have competition that's taking place. But, getting to know what the motivations of that community are,
Right.
understanding those motivations and where they come from and what gets everybody in that area. What's the different reasons people get out of bed there?
Right.
Well, whether it's a positive or a negative, they all sort of matter.
And how does one go about finding this type of information out?
So you find out the demographics first, and then, shockingly, and I know this sounds crazy, you just sort of spend time with the people there and get to know them and ask them their opinion. I know, isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
That's crazy stuff there. Just talking to people and asking them. You can ask them why you're there. come in prepared with the information that you have in demographics, in the historical context of the area, in the recent issues and news, and then walk in and then say,
Well, no,
"Tell me about
my
yourselves."
question is walk into what? What do you do? Where do you go?
So, in getting to know these areas and districts, you're going to find there's a watering hole. There's a place where people gather. There's a community event that's taking place. There are things that this particular area do on every Friday or the first Tuesday of every month or whatever. But the community comes together in some way. And if they're not, well, right there might be kind of information that you need to know too. Uh, you want to go to those public events where the community is coming out of their individual houses and coming together, and they're talking to one another and they're celebrating things and they're doing things. You learn a lot about an area on those events alone. What what is their motivation? What got them out into the street or to somewhere to gather? What was the thing that they're there to do? That's motivation. That's what you're getting to know.
Right.
What are the cultural norms? What food are the people there eating? What kind of what kind of decorations are being used? It sounds stupid. But you're kind of Jane Goodall on this. And I say that a lot in politics.
You have to observe the humans.
You have to observe them from standing outside from an objective, unbiased and a non-judgmental place. You're asking these people to hire you to represent them. You can't be looking at that, looking down on it. You need to be stepping back and understanding it and then finding your place as a leader within it.
Right.
So, you are, it sounds stupid. It sounds trite. What kind of food are they making? And in your head, it's like, well, it's America. It must be like fried stuff and everything else. But what's getting fried? Is it a Snickers bar, a stick of butter? Is it going to be, is it fried chicken? Are they frying up a pork chop sandwich? Are we frying, what are we frying? Are we frying, what is it that when you do when you fry the tortillas and you put the ice cream on top and the like, it matters what you're frying. Man, I you all that need to know I've spent enough time at fairs. I cannot eat fair food anymore. I go to a fair and I smell the food and all I think is, "Dear God, someone get me a salad." And what's really important is how much time Scott has spent explaining to me that Twizzlers are not a fruit. So I have the eating habits
Of horrible,
of a 12-year-old who has
horrible
been
diet.
that has been I don't have a horrible diet.
Mm.
You know, left to my own devices, I have, a pot of coffee and a pound of Twizzlers, and I'm gonna survive
Yeah.
sort of diet, and I can't eat fair food anymore. So, you know what? I think we brought this up earlier, though. Like, you're gonna lose weight.
Campaigning is dating.
Campaigning is dating, but you're gonna lose weight because you're gonna get you can't eat it
And when you're dating your community, sometimes you have to eat the food that
if you get the
is
chance.
not your favorite.
And we'll get back to tips and tricks while you're out there. But let me recommend you take just enough bites to be seen by the people who need to see you eating it, enjoy it, but leave room for everything else, like a salad and some water. I want you to enjoy it. Most of the food that you're gonna be, like, interacting with, you're gonna be like, "Oh, man, this is so good." You know what else it is? Rich, fat, and made by grandmas, right? And that is delicious, and it is heavy, and you are gonna feel bad. There's so much cream and
Okay.
butter. Okay, I'm just preparing. I'm saving people's upper and lower GI tracts. That's what I'm doing. So as you're getting to know all of this, honestly, we're talking about what kind of food, what kind of clothes is everybody wearing? what do the young people hello, fellow young people. What are you wearing today? What's the cool phrases to say? And also, don't say them. You're going to be tempted.
Yeah.
There's going to be something you want to do on TikTok that the young folks are doing. Don't do it. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. So, that's
That's our take on fair food and understanding cultural norms.
uh but that's at the end of the day, you have dated your district. Hopefully, you're going to ask them to marry you for a primary.
Right.
Maybe they say yes. You want them to say yes. And that's your first.
That's your first hurdle.
You get them to say yes, and then it's getting them down that aisle. That's what I've got on demographics, dating your district. Hopefully, at the end of getting to know all the different parts, all the family drama and all the different parts of the family. I don't know. That I'm beating this analogy
Yeah.
at this point. The point is
The
hopefully
big family.
the extended family, everybody where everybody's at and what's the drama with everyone in the family. You've gotten to know all that. Um, and then, you've hopefully they've gotten to know you and you ask them to marry them at the primary and you get them down the aisle and at the general. All right.
And a reminder that our episode is brought to you by Be Political. Running for office can be overwhelming, especially when you don't know where to begin. Be Political helps people just like you run for political office with the confidence of having a seasoned campaign manager. With Be Political, you'll find the professional advice you've been looking for, along with guidance and tools you can't find anywhere else. We'll help you stay organized and guide you in making important decisions about your campaign, from learning how to secure that big donor to choosing your campaign color scheme. Be Political is here for you. It's hard to know where to begin when you want to run. Start here. Be Political will show you the way. For all your campaign needs, go to bepoliticalllc.com.
That's BEE politicalllc.com.
And you can get our show updates and listen to all the other episodes of our podcast from that website as well.
So, what are we talking about next week?
What are we talking about next week, B?
It says here the title of the episode is Rabble, Rebel, Rabble. We've been talking about all these people. I think we're going to be talking about what all those people are talking about.
What are they saying?
Where to find out what they're saying.
Yes. What to do with that information.
Why they're saying it.
And
What
why
you
they're
should
saying
say.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like we've said say a lot. All right, we're going to let these people get back to their regularly scheduled lives and hopefully planning your campaign. So, folks, let's get ready to run.